back, everyone, to another episode with Robin Hood, aka Mr. Blue. And today we're going to be talking policy officers, police corruption, failing to disclose acts of terrorism, a fraud, tyranny against the people, and levelling war against the imperial crown. Mr. Blue, are you there?
I am. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me back.
You are more than welcome as ever. So you've been busy behind the scenes and we've been busy behind the scenes aiding and assisting you. Do you want to tell people and give the people an update as to where we're going with the realm of England? Of course, links are below if you wish to
Look,
join and what's been happening out there and what we can
look,
do
guys.
about it.
Look, I'm not one for big on attention. This is why I don't put my face out there. The fact that I'm an ugly old git don't matter as well. But the fact is that what we need to all understand is there's more than one way to skin this cat. There is, as you can verify for yourself, I have done an incredible amount of work, including indictments ready to rock and roll. We have already started this process with some brave individuals and groups that are seriously coming together and realising that possibly the path that they're on doesn't benefit them because they're trying to claim something that they've not separated from correctly. So we all know about the legal fiction. We all know about the deception of it. But what we're not getting to the grips with is how do I get out of it? How do I become back to the sovereign living man? And we've done an affidavit to that. We put that affidavit in a small of text on every letter. We address it as that we are XYZ. We are the living sovereign man, blah, 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 under a certain, which you can get if you join the realm of England. All this other stuff where people are trying to make their own realms won't work. They've tried it in America. You just have to look at people that have bought a massive amount of land that have come together, school teachers, nurses, doctors, all want to get out of the system because they know it's corrupt, it's damaging their children, it's doing whatever. Look at Waco. There were loads of innocent children, people just living their lives. They committed no crime, but they were painted as the evilly spawn going because they wouldn't pay taxes. They wouldn't allow the federal government onto their property, onto their land. So what did they do? They turned up with tanks against children and women. And we all know how that story ended, don't we? There's several more. You only have to look at what happens when you try and go against the government, the state, that is supposed to be working for you, and claim your sovereignty back and claim your rights back if you still don't toe the line. So we've got to be careful here. There are several things we can do, and there are lots of things we can do, such as when you receive any documentation from their side, you don't accept it. So you rebut it straight away. Who are you? Under the Bills and Exchange Act 1882, a document purporting to have legal effect must be signed by the party to be in charge, right? To bring a charge. Simple as that. It's not got a signature on it. It's stamped by the Justice's Clerk's office. So no man or woman is taking charge of it. No man or woman is taking responsibility of it. They're now putting it under a corporation. Well, a corporation cannot bring a charge against you. It's a legal fiction. Can't do anything, right? Under the Public Records Act 1958 and the Constitutional Reform Act 2005, public servants must act lawfully, authority, and provide verbal signatures on official documentation. So if there's nothing signed, it's not worth the paper it's written on, printed on, because nothing's written anymore. The absence of a signature renders the document non-binding, non-authoritative, and without lawful force. So every time a copper turns up with a warrant for your arrest, let's see the signature. There you go. Well, under this act, under that act, it has to be signed. There you go. Under the Bill of Exchanges Act, have it out, have it printed off at the side of your door. There you go. This is for your information. If you do not fuck off, I'm going to charge you with an act of terrorism and
And
servitude of slavery.
if we're acquiescing to their jurisdiction, then in their own rules under the Magistrates Act, I think it is it 1981? They say, oh, we don't have to sign anything, but obviously lawfully, we know that they do, don't we? And that's
Yep.
that distinct. Don't quote me about the Magistrates Act, but I'm pretty sure that's where obviously an act is an act, isn't it? They just make up their own rules
Yep.
in their own jurisdiction to
Right.
persons, not to people. Just to
Exactly.
clarify.
What they're doing is they're contacting your corporate side entity. Now, we've all heard about this thing in America and all the rest of it. Great for this guy. But America is even though we're under a very similar constitution, there's massive differences between us and America. You see, we were ordained with sovereignty. We weren't granted it. We weren't anything else. We had God's law, and it's still the highest law in this land. The Holy Bible, Holy Trinity. I don't care what anybody else says. It states that God's law is the highest law. So is the Constitution. They can't take it away. But what they can do is remove you from it by making you a corporation. How can a corporation claim to be a sovereign man? The police force can't have sovereignty. Parliament cannot have sovereignty. It is a state principle. Right? It is a building. What is Parliament? It's a building. Nothing more. Yeah. How does a building, corporation, have any sovereignty? You have to be living, breathing, and ordained by God to have divine sovereignty. It is our inalienable, inherited right under God and under kings of old. Now, I've had an argument recently with somebody who says he knows more than he actually does, where he states the medieval do not exist today. Rules don't exist today. I said, they're not rules, they're rights. I said, look at Article 1 of the Magna Charta. It states there, it's an inherited right, cannot be removed by anybody. Yet Parliament, before it even existed, declares it can remove any act and statute. Well, okay, but a right is not an act or statute. A right is a right, it's God-given. Parliament does not have the right to take it away, nor the police force, nor the banks, nor anybody else. Okay?
Oh, no.
So the fact is, what they're claiming is correct in one way, because they're not talking to you, the man. They're talking to you, the corporation. Okay? So let's get yourself stripped of the corporation. Okay? Yeah. Simple as that. And my documentation does it from the first moment they do it. We put it straight under an affidavit. You must rebut this affidavit if you believe it's incorrect. And you must state line by line, give me the reasons. Okay? Yeah. You fail to do that, then you accept it by silent acquiescence. It's a tacit agreement. By your silence, you have now accepted it. So what works for us works for them. Because you ignoring a letter, right, is what they want you to do. Because they can take that as a silent, tacit agreement that you accept in that letter that you are responsible, that you have the right. Okay? And sorry, they have the right over you. Okay? They don't. Yeah. But because you've ignored it, because these idiots keep telling you to ignore it on the internet, and you don't answer it, and it's right, oh, yeah, I've not seen it, I've not delivered it, right? That's okay if you have genuinely not received it. You know, the post office openly admits it loses over 1 million letters a year. Okay?
Yeah. And things lawfully should be recorded, which is why they will never send things to you recorded delivery or special delivery, because they don't want to record.
Look, a summons has to be hand delivered, because that's what a summons is. A summons is to be served. If that's not been served, then it's illegal. It's not even a lawful document. If it's not signed correctly by a man or woman, it's not legal. It has no lawful effect. None. So you return it and say, thank you very much, but you have contacted the wrong entity. As this entity cannot respond, as it is a private corporation owned by the Bar Guild or the Vatican. It is nothing to do with me. You have illegally used the all caps fiction which belongs to the Vatican, the Bar Guild, right? It's not yours. All this where they keep saying, oh, we're going after this trust, we're going after this bond. What a load of nonsense. Doesn't exist. It's an insurance policy. It's a bond for wrongdoing, right? It's a fraud. It's a securities fraud, right? Because it's not you. You have been securitized in 12 different ways by the use of all caps name. Mr. Admiralty rank, P. Asda, or J. Morrison, or L. Lidl, or D. Aldi's, right? Whatever supermarket you want to go. I've just mentioned that. But what they do is they then put Mr., Mrs. Then it's L, P, all caps in different variations. And I believe they do it up to 12 times. So they've now just committed securities fraud 12 times.
Yeah. And that's why you have a
They've
title, and
also,
that's, it's an electrical charge. That's why we get charged. But I mean, we're not breaking any kind of new ground here. We just want to say this to people on these points because obviously our audience will be aware of this.
well,
But
some of
what we're
your
trying to
audience
get
is,
to
and
as
some,
well is,
but
well,
look,
yeah, I suppose that's
I've
the
been pulled on the fact that I'm going too
Mm.
quick, right? I've been told a lot of times now, I'm too far ahead of the game and I'm talking to people as if I'm in a room of 20 of me, right? By some very educated people on this, okay? Including yourself on occasion, I think. And I've got to wind it back to the beginning, right? And I've sort of got to wind it back to the beginning. And this is what I'm trying to do with just this is, look, let's get these facts straight in our heads first.
I've explained it, Mr. Hood, Mr. Blue, as in that it's like trying to wrap a rope round a bull in a china shop, you know. So we do kind of need to take it back to basics, but because only a living man can make a claim, you know, if there's harm, injury, or loss, etc., with
Yep.
an affidavit, etc. So it's just kind of it's getting the basics down and it's jurisdiction, isn't it? That people are getting
It is.
confused on.
This is what they don't like. This is what they don't like, is when you call their crap out, right? So it states here, the police as private security officers, because that's all they are. They're Parliament private security officers. They have no consent. Look it up, guys. It's 1995. The Crown Agents Act was dissolved, right? So the Crown Agents Act, all Crown agents, that includes Crown prosecution, Crown officers, police officers, police constables were all dissolved. 1997, where did Tony Blair put them? In an act of fraud, treason, which is levelling war against the Imperial Crown Authority, right? Because they police only can police by consent. So who consented to the police force now becoming a private corporation working for the Bar Guild? Right?
I don't remember doing that myself.
No, do I? Right? So now police officers are nothing but a private force, security force. They cannot be on the road. They cannot be in our cars. They cannot dip into the public purse. They're private. They do not run under common law. They run under two laws, which is Admiralty, Maritime, same sort of law, right? And it puts you under presumption of compelled performance by obligation. So you rebut it straight away. I do not stand under the 12 presumptions of the Bar Guild. Right? We've got that document on there, on our realm of England. Just download it, guys. Send that straight in. There you go, police officers. We don't recognise your authority, as you are a private corporation. I am the man. There's a little aspect on there, which again, we've combinated together. And it's something I don't want to confuse the issue with today, but it now starts all my documentation is a small affidavit of who you really are and what they are, okay, and what they want to do. They're quasins, and you are a persona. Well, a persona is only a copy of you, and this is what the birth certificate is, the baptism certificate. Your ID is all persona. What's a persona? It's a person. It's a person. It's a copy of. Yeah, it's a mirror. It's a mirror image. It's not you. And this is the Bar Guild presumption. You are guilty because you are there. This does not have to be recorded because you are under our jurisdiction. Oh, are we? Well, that's not what the Monopolies Act 1623 states. The Monopolies Act 1623 states the bar guild cannot operate or have any lawful jurisdiction unless it's with consent, contract, and licensed to operate in the realm of England. So what courts do you think you're walking in? I don't care whether they're called magistrates, Crown Court, County Court, High Court, any court. They're all bar guild courts. Because what's every solicitor, every judge registered to barrister? They're all bar guild. It's a private association. It's arbitrary law. Cannot exist. It's against the Bill of Rights, the human rights, and every international right there is. Law stands above everybody, including Parliament. Right? So this is where we've got to lose the fear. This is what our chat's about today. So as established in law, police officers are only recognised as public constables in matters of terrorism, slavery and levelling war against the Imperial Crown authority and sovereignty of the people. Because the Imperial Crown is not the crown of England per se. It is our sovereignty where it rests, where we've allowed to be governed. So the Imperial Crown is our authority. It's not theirs. Stop losing the track of who and what is what. The Imperial Crown is the most senior crown in England, right? But there's no Crown officers. So there's no Crown judges. None. So where do they presume to have their authority from? Because they've all been turned into a private corporation for personal gain and private gain and corporation gain. Therefore, who's bringing this claim?
Exactly.
Who's bringing it? It's a private bar guild corporation. You are guilty because you are there and you do not have a say. Any defence that you put in is automatically not heard because you are an illegal corporation trading in the bar guild jurisdiction under either bar guild presumptions or they've got you under the Naval and Distributions Act as cargo, passenger, and you are on a ship as you are a vessel. That's a lie because you basically you're the God-given states that you are a temple vessel upon the land, not upon the sea.
Yeah.
So they pervert the word vessel because you are the vessel that carries your soul, God's gift to all of us. Right? So now the police are in the act of terrorism under the Terrorism Act 2000 and in the Police Act 1996 because they're waging war and levelling war against your imperial authority. Yeah. They are supposedly public servants working from our consent because you can only police by consent. I've just done a document now that removes the police from having your consent because they're a private corporation. The one thing that people have not been able to do or achieve correctly is remove consent from police forces.
Yeah.
Right? And because this then is deemed to be that you are removing consent from law. Right? And you now are the criminal. But if you state as a matter of fact in an affidavit that you remove your authority and your sovereign power from the police, incorporated police force or any police force, right? Or any officer within that police force, but you do not remove it from law. Okay?
Yeah, which is why when you have conversations with them, a lot of the time they'll go, well, you were born in this country, you have to abide by the law. But of course, they don't know the distinction now, and they're not trained in it anymore between the law and legal, which
Policy.
is, again,
Policy.
Consent, because law is given, or legislation is given the force of law by our consent, but we don't consent.
But the point that I'm going to make to you is this. This is another slippery part of Parliament and the police force. They now deem that you removing consent means that you're removing consent from law.
Yeah, that's
that you are now creating some act of unlawfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then they
When in
can
actual fact, they're in unlawful territory. Because what they're because they're failing something that is extremely important, which is, where does their authority come from? If it doesn't come from the consent of the people, who are they working for?
Yeah.
If they're not under the people, why are we paying for them from the public purse?
Yeah.
So that's fraud by misrepresentation, fraud by omission, and it's also theft from the public purse, because they're not allowed to take money. They're a private corporation. They don't work for you and me. They only come out when they can make money, when they can fine you for the bar guild.
Yeah. Because
When you go to a court,
guilty
bar guild
comes from the word gilder. It means money. Yeah, to pay.
Yep.
Bar guild,
You
gilder,
have to
guilty.
pay for your guild, for your guilty pleasure, right? So when you get a speeding offence, it's never signed. There's very little photographic data, right? And it says, there you go. So you ask for the camera stuff, you ask for this, that, and the other, and you ask then who's that in the what is it? Because they've sent you an image, a persona, which they're not allowed to do. So as a private corporation, how have you got my details? You're not allowed my details without contract or consent, because it's a breach of GDPR. It's a breach of your data protection. And these buggers are passing it about like it's confetti at a wedding. Right?
Data is a digital commodity, isn't it? It's surpassed oil. Yeah. It's our data that they want. They rely on that to get us into that digital transhuman trap.
Data, asset, commodity. Mm-hmm. Because they sell your information to anybody and everybody, including bailiffs. What are bailiffs? Court-appointed thugs.
Yeah.
Right? That cannot have your data, that claim to be a private corporation. They, under their own policies, have to check the warrant's lawful. That means it has to be stamped correctly, signed correctly, and come from a constitutional monarchy court, not a bar guild court without license, without jurisdiction, and without any authority. That's what they're working on. So now when you attack the bailiff on this, he runs a mile. He doesn't come, he just sends you silly nonsensical letters. But you miss one. He now claims that you've left the battlefield. So you never ignore them. You always return them with force. Thank you for your evidence. This is now an act of coercion, harassment, attempted blackmail, stalking under the Theft Act 1968.
Yeah.
You have not signed this letter, therefore it has no legal enforcement. So now you will answer this DSAR. What do you hold of me? You will now remove my data because you are holding it illegally under the 1998 Data Protections Act, Section 10, Subsection 2. You will write in and just copy it. It literally tells you what to put in the data removal, right? Remove my data from your system. They will write back and say, no, we've got a warrant. You've got fuck all, pal. Excuse my French. You've got absolutely nothing. You've got a piece of paper that's not signed.
An illusion.
You have got a piece of paper that has come from a corporate court in commerce dealing with a corporate entity that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
As a persona, and I'm the man. So therefore, who's made the claim? Because I'm now going to sue them. Both the corporation and in the personal private capacity, whoever's pulling the strings behind the corporation. Because the maximum law states the corporation can never bring a man to court. It is only the man behind the corporation using the corporation as a veil to conduct commerce and authority over the man. It's a maximum law. Can't happen. It's a fraud.
Yeah. And it's
So
our
when now,
acquiescence to this fiction. That's what it is. It's a fiction in the minds of
yeah,
men, but we make it real with our minds because it's the fear that they instill us to make it a belief, isn't it? And it's as simple as that. It's all
yeah.
fraud ultimately.
But what I'm
It's
trying
all
to
what it
do,
all boils
it
down
is, it's
to.
all fraud, but you've got to call it all out, but not just to the bailiff. So now what you've got to do is, so let's go. We've done police. So let's do it's the police, it's a parking ticket. So then we'll do parking tickets or enforcement agent for speeding or whatever crime. So police state the injury, loss, or harm. There isn't any. Therefore, there is no crime. Who the man, independent witness, has made a statement, because there's no statement. Which jurisdiction have you taken me into? Have you taken me into a naval admiralty jurisdiction or a bar guild jurisdiction? Show me the license, show me my contracts, and show me my willingly, knowingly consented to these proceedings. Now they're in
Yeah,
trouble. But you don't just stop with bailiffs. You now go for clerk at court. You now go for CPS. You now go for the judge, and you want his oath and bonds because they haven't got any. They've got none. Now they're in panic. So now you charge the judges, CPS, because they're not Crown officers. They can't bring a fucking charge. They can't do it. It's all illegal. The police officers are dealing in terrorism because it's an act of terrorism by them turning up knowingly, voluntary, entrenchingly. It is a levelling war against the imperial crown authority of the sovereign man because they know it's not a court of law. They know it's a bar guild presumption court and they cannot enforce anything. So you have now, and we've just done it, a template. It's going up apparently, right? To issue the police as soon as they arrive on site. Get off my fucking land. There you go. I'm now charging you. Bang. And it's all templated. All you need to do is put the police officer's names on it and serve him. That means that they are suspended immediately and video them. Because you
yeah,
videoed them in a criminal act, that's evidence. They can't dispute
yeah.
it. They cannot dispute it. They're done. You now can take the shirt off his back, his pension, his house, and you now, under the Constitution, can have him executed.
And we've just had success with that, haven't they, with your paperwork, Mr. Blue, at a recent repossession, isn't it? It's always good to talk about the successes, and we are going to be doing a live
Well, I
through
mean,
the
if we're going
network.
to keep on track, let's just talk about the massive successions we're having at the minute with um, police and courts and CPS now crapping themselves on having to return licenses, return fines, bailiffs not having to, can't do anything.
I'll be doing mine.
And we've got in at the minute, because what people need to know is this: if they're splitting your data and using the all caps fiction, check out 82, 83, and 84 of GDPR rules. It states that you can charge that company 4% of its annual turnover for sharing your data. So now you've got the bailiffs, you've got the police force, you've got the CPS, you've got the Justice Society. Then you've got all the people behind that are now going to start panicking. So now you bring not only charges against them, but you also do it in affidavit and DSAR, because you will now answer this. Failure to answer is a tacit agreement. Failure to do this is that. Commerce law, there's only 10 maxims in commerce law. 4 and 5 are brilliant, because any unrebutted, correctly unrebutted, affidavit stands as truth and judgment, stands as truth and fact. Second one stands as what, Carly? Because this is your bed of roses. Stands as
Second
judgment.
commercial maxim. Yeah, well, an affidavit stands as truth in commerce.
Yeah, and the second one, when you reply it again for another 30 days, you fail to rebut the first one. If you
Yeah.
fail to rebut the second one, it is judgment. You can take that to any. It's only 2, right? You give them an extra month so that you can be seen to be fair and offer what they class as a what's the word I'm looking for? It is you basically say that they've done that. You've now won judgment, and
Yeah.
you for ease and redress, you will make one final attempt And if they fail to do it then, you can walk into any equity court and literally demand the judge stamp it, and the Commerce Party cannot dispute it. Cannot dispute it.
Their acquiescence becomes their silence, and that becomes
A
our
tacit agreement that
consent.
what you've stated in there is a fact of truth.
Works both ways, baby.
And what's the other maxim? What's the other maxim? In commerce, truth
Is sovereign, is it?
it,
Truth
it's,
is sovereign.
truth stands above all. Right? It is a maxim of law. It is truth is paramount. It's maxim. That's it. If you are found to be studying truth, you win. That's what the affidavit does. It's a commerce document that we, the people, can use and are failing to use correctly.
Well, it's the same with equity, isn't it? He who seeks equity must do equity. And let's face it, we know they're not acting equitably at all.
Yep.
They're acting in
And
fraud
he
and
who does
deception.
equity must arrive in clean hands.
Yeah.
Well, they're not, are they? Because they're in fraud from the beginning.
Exactly.
From the beginning, they're in fraud. Every division of this corporation, and that goes from Parliament down, the courts, everything, because it's all the same corporation. It's just different divisions within the corporation. Yeah?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and he who
That's
rests
all
on
it
his
is.
rights has none. You know, if we're ignorant to our rights and we're not, standing up to them, speaking up and enforcing those rights, then have none. That's how they view it in their system.
He who forgets his rights has no rights.
Exactly. Boom.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And again, a long forgotten right is never forgotten once you declare it. You've just got to know enough and have enough balls to deal with it correctly, right? And you've got to state it. Now, don't forget that these are administrative courts. So what we do is we put in Aylesbury's law, Black's law, dig it out, put in the page numbers, the volumes, the volume used. Look at Whitaker's law. Look at all the law books. Archibald. Combine them, but put them in different sections, because there's no confusion then. This is what the book of law states, and I come under the man. England's law. I don't come under the corporation law of the United Kingdom or Great Britain. You're not British. You are English. That's the difference. If you live in Scotland, you're Scottish. If you come in Wales, you're Welsh. You're in Ireland, you're Ireland. You're Irish, right? It's as simple as that, guys. Know your roots, know your heritage, and know your rights.
Well, and it's this kind of being British, isn't it? The land is England.
It's a
The realm
trickery of
is England.
words. It is nothing more a trickery of words.
United Kingdom.
Yeah, but they don't use United Kingdom anymore, do they? They've stopped using United Kingdom. It now comes under the UK. Every document is under UK. What does UK stand for? It's like a £10 note. Have you seen the oath on a £10 note? Right?
I've been looking at one.
Right. It reads Bank of England, and then under that, what I promise to pay the bearer the sum of £20. £20 of what? £20 of what? They went into the sterling, because it used to be we will pay you £20 of grain or maize or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
Then they upgraded it to silver, right? And now we come under the silver. But what they've done is all these banknotes now have at least 3 different pages on. Use the 4-corner rule and look at a banknote. And if you don't know what the 4-corner rule is, have a look it up. Then have a look up what is fraudulent about our money. Because there's 4 different types of script on it. Writings. You can only have one to make it lawful. You only have one.
Yeah.
Right? Where have we got the Queen's face on it? Because is it her that's stating she will pay the sum of? Or does it come under the Governor and the Bank of England? Because it also states that. Or is it London? Which London? The inner city of London? Or the town of London? Right? There's no thing on it. And what does it say? I promise to pay the bearer. Promise to pay him what? Right?
So
I promise to pay the
we can't
bearer.
pay for anything. No, because
No,
money
hang
doesn't
on a
have
minute.
any, no,
So,
there's no value.
no. So at the end of the day, it's a promissory note under our
Mhm.
sweat equity. We've created it. So we're the creditors, not the debtors, because it's ours. But somehow we've got all head spun, turned round, and literally being told, no, 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 you're the debtors. And we chuff the debtors. We are the creditors. We own everything. We own the councils, we own the still, we own the land by divine right. God's law. God's law, what did he state? You are granted divine right over the lands, the seas, and the air, up until the heavens. Told us. So how does we become now governed by the rule of sea when we are divine over the sea?
Exactly.
A vessel has never been, a boat has never been called a vessel. It's a ship or a boat. A vessel is the perversion of the word, right? So that they can then put us as a vessel upon the sea. Because as to your 1666, 1707 trust, what does it state? Read it. Section, I think it's 918 and 1718. It states there that the judge will order the people not to, the jury not to be seen. So you, the defendant, are not seen, as you are dead or lost over the sea.
Mhm.
And you will be treated as if you are not there. That's what it states in it. You will have to prove that you have returned from the sea and that you're not dead.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it correctly, the state owns your assets. They own you.
Yeah.
Right? So what you've got to be understanding is there are laws, which are now doctrines, and this is the perversion on the word that they've got, right? Impersonation of a police constable or Crown agent. Following the repeal of the Crown Agents Act in 1995 and transferred all Crown agents to the Companies Act 1985, this is what it states. In 1997, also Crown agents are now private corporation officers.
Yeah.
That's what it states in law. It says it. It says it in the transfer. Any individual on entry acting as a police constable or public prosecutor without lawful authority under the Imperial Crown is potentially impersonating a public officer, contrary to the common law and Section 90 of the Police Act 1996. Checkmate. Checkmate. You can't call yourself police constables because you're not under the Imperial Crown. You haven't got the consent of the people because that is what the Imperial Crown is. That's what brings law and order. So then we've got, this is fraud by omission, fraud by misrepresentation, and failing to disclose, the lack of disclosure.
Yeah.
Right? So we use their rules to start with to beat them. These are your rules. These are your regulations. They're not ours. And you're under your rules. I'm not, because I'm the man. But
Yeah.
there's a special technique that we use, and I'm not going to say it on air, because I don't want them to know what we're doing. They're already not being awful, but the councils are feeling it. The police forces are feeling it. And 6 chief constables are seriously feeling the pressure at the minute because
Yeah.
they're the ones that have now breached. And you look at all your speeding fines, the chief constable brings you to court into their private police-led prosecution. Well, the police can't lead a prosecution. It's illegal.
Yeah.
Because what do they claim to be? The state. What's the law? The state can never be the injured party. So you write it in.
Yeah. And these documents will be going up in the network as well. So, and the idea is that we will do videos that go alongside with them so people can understand how to utilize them correctly, etc. So that we are no longer the cargo or it's the Argo Navi in the heavens as they journey us on the ship into their underworld, into their bar, the lower bar, which is
Look,
Loop
when you
down London.
start, look, we can go with all this spiritual stuff, and I'm a big believer in the spiritual at the time. I'm a big
Exactly.
believer in God's law, but only of the Holy Trinity, of the Holy Gospel. Okay, because that's
Involved.
the only book that we relate to and we come from, right? Because it's there that in the 800 whatever from Alfred, they used the Holy Gospel, right? They used the Holy Trinity, the God, Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. Yeah, the three. They granted us image in their likeness, and we became God's children. So what does that make us?
Gods.
So we ask them,
Hmm.
are you attempting to breach God's law? Are you breaching maxims of law? Are you breaching my inalienable, constitutional, natural common law rights, such as there is no wrong without remedy, but there must be first be a wrong and a real party who has suffered it.
Hmm.
A right of action must be founded on an injury to a legal right. The state cannot be both judge and party. So they can't stand in judgment of you as a judge, and they can't bring a charge against you because that is conducting on their own judgment, right? No one can sue in the name of another who is not present. Where's the claimant in all these courses, in all these courts? So the
Doesn't
Crown
exist.
agents are now suing you on behalf of the Chief Constable. The Chief Constable's never there, is he?
Mm-mm.
No. So therefore the case has to be kicked out. But the judge now is paid for by the Chief Constable in
Mm.
fraud and deception, by misrepresentation.
Yeah.
Right? Same with the council. When you go to a council-led prosecution, they don't want to hear your excuses. They won't hear you that to pay the council is against the law because it's paying for terrorism, act of war. Your council tax does not go where it is supposed to go, which is for the public services, for the rights to pay for people in care homes and tidy up the areas, do the parks, make sure we've got libraries and schools are well shod and everything else, that our kids are fed, that we have public services. Right? No, where does our money go? It goes to pay government bonds. It's not government bonds. It's Bar Guild inner city of London bonds that have fraudulently, by securitization fraud, sold bonds it shouldn't have done. And we are now paying for the corporation's failure. We are being treated as in servitude and slavery to the state corporation.
Hmm. So,
Because what can it be? It's a tort of law, requires the real identifiable natural person who has suffered an actual harm, loss, or damage as a result of another action. Only a living individual with first-hand knowledge and a verified statement of truth can bring a lawful claim or be recognised as an injured party. So your council tax, where's the injured party? Because they've committed fraud by misrepresentation before you refuse to pay, because you're not getting the public services. The money's not going where they claim it's going, and it's being wasted by the billion, by incompetency, theft, money laundering, and fraud. And we look at what's happening within the councils nowadays. We all know it's going off. We just can't prove it, right? But hopefully, reform are going in. They're going to do the books, because when we ask for a public doge, what does Parliament do? No, 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 no. What does Council? Whoa, 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 whoa. No, no, no. You might catch us. When they're asked questions, what do they say? Oh, I'm not going to answer that right now. Hang on a minute. You're a public entity. You answer to us. Not anymore, they don't. They're a private corporation. They will do what they want. Look at all our council houses. What are they now? What are they? They're not council
They
anymore, are
sold
they?
them off, yeah, they sold them all off, didn't
They
they?
haven't sold them. What they've done is they've securitized them. They've borrowed money
Oh,
against them. And now they put them
well,
into
I sold them.
what they call is a private corporation charity. Right? Yeah, of course you did. Right? Of course you did. So all that money that the council's getting from our rent money is now going to a private corporation to pay off debts that the council have misused.
Yeah.
Right? Simple as that. And they are now paid government, and government's doing what? They're paying for the war in Ukraine. They've openly publicised it. They're sending them how many billions of war, making bullets and stuff. That's an act of terrorism against a friend. Because, let's face it, what were Russia in World War II? Were they a friend or an enemy? Did they fight for Hitler and Germany, or did they fight with England and America? Donald Trump stated it in one of his speeches not long ago. Why would I fall out with a friend? Do we not remember how many people they lost in the Second World War fighting tyranny? So where's all this big thing come from? Yes, we've all had a bit of a rub up and down with Russia, and Russia wants to do this for its people, and fair play to it. But why are we fighting a war that's nothing to do with us? It's between Russia and Ukraine. And let's not forget how this started. Look it up. I'm not going into politics. I'm not political in any way, shape, or form. I
It's
just
all
find it.
corruption. They're all part of this. They all pay in the same pot.
Well, I'm not being awful. I mean, Doge out there now has claimed, and Trump has claimed, how much fiddling was going off. So all these billions that were going into so-called Ukraine have all been for politicians. Now, that's what they've uncovered in America. I'm not saying it's going off here, but we've got to look at and serious look at what's happening with our money. Because our money, as I believe, is nothing more now than corporate profit. Doesn't go into the public purse anymore. It's corporate profit, and they'll do whatever they want to do with it. Because they've got mugs like us to pay taxes, to pay stuff that costs they demand it, pay penalties when there isn't a penalty, right? No corporation, council, government, or agency or enforcement company can lawfully claim to be the victim or injured party in the absence of an actual living person who has suffered provable harm.
Well, we're still
So
paying
where's the
the
provable
debt
harm?
someone collects, aren't we? Again, not to get too woo-woo, but Christ came down to pay the debt. The debt's been paid. That's why you get a repayment. We're paying it again. The more we join in with the fiction and support their human trafficking and their wars, we're paying for it. Because we forgot who we are. It's as simple as
Correct.
that.
But it's like anything else. The CPS are working with the police because they will only, if you went to the CPS now, and I guarantee this, and you look it up for yourselves, right? You went and said, right, I want to bring charges against the police force. They will say, no, 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 you've got to go to the police first. What? I'm bringing charges against the police force. No, 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 no. The police have to investigate first before we can do it. We can only bring charges as to the police force who have investigated and claim there is a wrongdoing. So how can a corporation go to another corporation and say we've investigated this and there's a crime?
Well, there's still a crime case
Excuse
number
me?
open for COVID, isn't there? it's absolute. Can
It
I say
just
the
beggars
word?
belief
Say the
what we're uncovering, what the actual truth of all this is. The CPS, the Prosecution Service of England, the Imperial Crown that they claim to be under, and they will not investigate or charge the police.
Well, they're not going to charge the mates, are they? In their own
Well, not
business.
only the mates, but the same corporation,
Yeah, it's
different
them.
division.
They're not going.
I've got
Yeah,
your
they're
back,
not going to
you've
go.
got my back. I mean, I'm not being awful. It's
Exactly.
like asking a turkey if he wants to vote for Christmas.
Exactly. They're never gonna.
You know
They're
what I
never
mean?
gonna go against themselves. That's why you're never gonna walk into a bar court and call a mortgage fraud because they're never gonna go. Oh yeah, sorry about that. It's the banks.
Yeah,
The banks are
exactly.
gonna.
And with the banks, like you mentioned earlier, we've had massive success as well with certain aspects of mortgage fraud. But what the people in there, and this is what's starting to really rub salt into me at the minute, is they believe that they're doing this, and this. And then when it gets too late, they're then trying to rally round support. As soon as you start getting anything, put it out there, ask for help, and then let the community help you devise a way through. Now, I got to shout out, I don't know, last week, 10 days ago, something like that, to help this lovely couple on a mortgage repossession thing. So what I've done is I've done to the bailiffs, to the what is it? They've done fantastic work. They've worked it from LCS, the partner, down to the mortgage company, down to TLT, a partner, down to another, what is it? Down to their employed whatever, receiver, down to the courts, and then down to the bailiff. They've done the work. They've linked all these places together. And I wish people would do more of that than actually just scream and shout about constitutional rights. Because constitutional rights, yes, they are there, but you have to claim them before they turn up.
Mhm.
And you have to warn them if they turn up what's going to happen. Right? You have to contact every single. So if you're sending a letter to the bailiff, you send it to the court, you send it to the mortgage company, you send it to everybody that's involved in that case and that claim. Okay? You do not just involve one entity, you involve them all. And I don't care if you're sending 20 pages a day, but just make sure it's right. Look up the FCA, look up the good banking practices, but don't just send them quotes out of them, send them the evidence. Right? Stop doing what you're doing. Right? Look at there and then smash them with constitutional, common law, natural common law, smash them with God's law, smashing them with the fraud. Because you failed to produce this, that in your realm is fraud. Because where's the contract? Where's the offer? Where's the mortgage offer letter? Where's my deed of assignment for you to sell it? Have you sold? Have you securitized it? Where's my profit from the securitization by the fractional banking system? Because you've now lent 9 times more than of my asset. Because what people are forgetting is, and this is where people are seriously failing to understand, and it's, is you are the creditor, you're not the debtor.
Yeah.
Right? Because what happens is, when you go for a mortgage, they look at your credit rating and see what a dope you are. See how big of a sponge you really are. Right? Because you've got a fantastic credit rating, you are a patsy. You are there right for the picking. Because you now are under the understanding you're borrowing money. Well, you're not. Let me wipe that illusion away from you. Because what the bank do is they get your signature onto this piece of paper. They then miraculously, and I mean miraculously, right? Change you from the man to a corporation, right? They don't sign that mortgage offer. What they do is they pass it to another department who then creates the money off of your creation, your signature, right? So you now are the creator of the money because all they do is basically ones and zeros because they do not have the money to lend you. So you are now duped into paying interest on something that you created.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now
And also,
that's
you
fraud
should
one.
have a you should have a standalone power of attorney document. I do tell people this because it's quite an important one to get them on as well,
Yeah.
because it should be a single skin document and it never is. They just put like a little line in the agreement. But of course, that's why
Yeah.
they never sign it because it's
And that's
fraud.
fraud. It's fraud, right? So this is what you point out. There was no standalone document. That was never explained. That was never divulged. Therefore, that is not willingly, intentionally, knowingly entered into. Therefore, the contract is void. The fact it's a one-party signature is void because the one party who signed it can void the contract. So that's what the banks does. Then what it does is sneakily it puts you on their ledger, your asset, your credit. They then send that to the Bank of International Settlement, use fractional reserve banking, times it by 9, and pull in all that money from the Bank of International Settlement. They lend that money then out to make more money, while at the same time securitizing your mortgage agreement. And then they sell that by special purpose vehicle onto the stock market and they sell it again. So now they've had no loss, no injury, no harm.
Yeah.
Because
And the
they've
banks
now,
are just agents. Yeah.
well, they're facilitators. This is all they are. They are facilitators for you to create the money, right? There's nothing else. They are facilitators. They create the money that you sign for, or you create it with your signature. They just facilitate the process. They're nothing more than a broker, right? Simple as that. They're a broker. And then what they do is they take your mortgage offer with about 8, 10, 12, 14,000 others and sell it through these special purpose vehicles. So right, they've now, right, they have now sold that off. So they've now been repaid all the money that you created, plus I believe it's 20%. So if you've got a mortgage for £200,000, they've now sold that for £220,000. So they've now £20,000 in profit. You don't owe the bank any money. You created the money. You've given no deed of assignment, no deed of novation to sell your credit. That's fraud. That's securities fraud, right?
Then and now the agent who has the charge at the land registry does is nothing to do with it anymore. So how can they have a claim?
Exactly. So now the land registry agent is only a what? It's another division of the same corporation. It's supposed to be a public office, a public record office only. So why do the courts, when you go into these bar guild courts with no jury, to a judge that doesn't tell you that he's not under the imperial crown anymore? Sorry, I'll just whittling me whistle. That that's acting as a foreign state court on the side of the banks, because where are all the banks? In the City of London.
Yeah.
Where's the Bar Guild? In the City of London. Okay. So they now, with no contract disclosed, no evidence whatsoever disclosed, award a repossession order against a creditor for a debtor that has sold in securities fraud your credit note to an open market, being paid, made money, and then by use of the fractional banking. So if you look at it this way, So we're going to use round big numbers. So you borrowed £1 million. You created £1 million. Right? They then send that off to the Bank of International Settlement and get 9 million back. They then use that and lend it out. So you've now had your mortgage for 10 years. So the money you were led to believe that you've borrowed, but actually you've created, was sold. They got 1.2 million back. So you don't. So they are not owned any money at all now. But now put your assets onto their ledger. So they borrowed 9 million back from the international bank. They've lent that 9 million out. They're making, let's just for round figures, 10% a year on money that they've lent. And I'm sure it's a lot more than 10%, let me tell you. Right? With fees and everything else that they chuck on for borrowing loans and right? So now so they're making £900,000 a year minimum. So by year one, if you were the debtor, which you're not, you're the creditor, you have paid £900,000 off your £1 million mortgage. Right? By year two, you've paid your mortgage off. You and the bank have just made 800,000 profit in year two. By year three, you're now 1.7 million. Now, times that by 10 years, that's 17 million quid. Not a bad
And every
racket you can
debit
get into, is it?
and every debit in their system is an abandoned credit. So that's why they'll
Yep.
get you to set up a direct debit to pay your mortgage, and the beat goes on even deeper, as we know.
Yep. And now you're paying all this interest for 10 years on top of what they're making off your credit and your asset. Another securities fraud, another deception, right? And this is how the mortgage scam works. So they're now paying off everybody, paying people, sorting stuff out, doing what they want because they can. Because they now have all the money, currency.
Yeah,
And
we're
have
funding them.
convinced you that you are the debtor when you're the creditor. And this is where they've
But
now got us.
yeah, their gang's bigger than our gang, though, right? That's
No,
we need
that's the
this
joke. It's
awareness
not.
on mass.
Listen, it's not. Their gang is not bigger
But
than
in
our
the
gang,
end,
right?
when the
Their
sheep all
gang is,
turn around and attack the sheepdog, game
right.
over.
Listen, their gang is a hell of a lot smaller than our gang, right?
Mm.
Because when the
Well,
people realise the securities fraud, the
mm,
deception that's been laid against us, we
yeah,
then have the right to say no, right? The police are on the wrong side, but they have now literally got all these young kids with no brains, no bottle, turning up with big misters. Oh, I'm in this gang, right? And they do not know what they're in for. Because when the people wake up. I mean, I always reference, and I've referenced it before on the show. If you watch the movie Ants, right, where the grasshoppers are bigger, stronger, all the rest of it, right, and they're, we'll smash and we'll do this, we'll do that. Why? I don't see why he had to be so hard on that one ant. And he stood in front of that jar of, acorns or whatever they are, seeds or whatever it is. And he said, "This is why." And he kicks the lid off it, and this grasshopper ends up covered, head to foot, smashed to pieces under the weight and the ferocity of the seeds, right? Because there's more seeds than us, right? There is approximately, I reckon now, very few police officers left. Because if you believe the reports, there are quite a few of them leaving on a daily basis. Right? They're putting big shouts out now for police officers to come and join them up. Right? The police force now is in such a disarray because look at what's happening. 10 police officers now involved in Rochdale. 2 others from another neighbouring, have just been uncovered. Right? And there'll be more to come. Then you've got them for failing to investigate crimes, because that itself is a criminal act. Because they are only there to investigate crimes.
yeah.
They don't work for Parliament, they work for us. Right? So they've got to start looking themselves in the mirror now. They've got to start realising, hang on a minute here, there's no wonder the public are so pissed off at us. We're not doing our jobs anymore. That's why the officers with, shall we say, knowledge, skills, and whatever, 10 years plus, are leaving in droves.
Yeah.
I mean, the last thing I heard, I've not verified it. This is only a rumour. It's not for, it is just a rumour. And I want to make that clear that 15,000 officers have left since Christmas.
The fall of Rome, baby. The fall of Rome.
Well, let's hope. But
We're in it.
the ones that are left are trying to dig down. And that's the whole point. We have to stand up. We have to get the people now that are really struggling when you don't have to. We've done council tax. Council tax for us, and you know this yourself, Carly, you've seen the results we're getting on council tax and bailiffs, right? We're nailing them. I've got 3 people now that I'm working from Bradford, Nottingham, Coventry, right? Basically, they've got forced orders, supposed forced sale orders for not paying council tax.
Yeah.
Right? So I've just basically pointed these people to have a look at certain things, right? And ensure that their paperwork will stand up to legal scrutiny, right? And they're still in their homes. The bailiffs haven't been. The bailiffs are under full notice that they're going to get 4% taken off them, right, for GDPR breaches. They've not surrendered the warrant from the Bargill court, nor has the court, nor has the CPS, nor has the councils.
Yeah.
Right? The council cannot be the injured party. And once you state that in letter with the correct heading, then you've got the council on the ropes. Because now you can go after people behind the council and demand their immediate dismissal. Look up public outrage.
Yeah.
It's a section of a rather important document, right? And look, I'm glad of this chat today, and I'm glad that I could slow things down for everybody to sort of look at stuff and understand the way I do things, that is very different to everybody else, right? And it's very different because I start with their policies and their rules, and I end with laws, maxims, and I also then kick in my inalienable rights, God's law.
Yeah.
Okay. But I keep it separate. I don't smash 38 different sections into one. What I do is I sectionalize stuff and I put the evidence in with each section. So they cannot dispute it. They cannot declare it's rubbish. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how we've got to start doing it. And then we've got to start pointing their fraud out. And start bringing in that we're going to bring criminal charges. So it's fraud, deception, acting outside of their authority, public disorder.
I mean, and look at the state of things now. If we don't start, if everybody doesn't start standing up to this now and utilising, the correct way to do that, then we are going to be in one. It's already one hell of a mess, but it's going to get worse. So, we need to get this out.
Yeah, we need to now just literally stand up. Well, your neighbour your neighbour that's been fighting for 10 years and 20 years, the people that are listening to this for the first time and just starting to wake up, you've got to go out and shake his hand and you've got to say thank you. And you've got to realise that you've been used as a sheeple, right? Because while ever you're towing the road and towing their line, they will keep coming in force. Now, the problem is that for them, not for us, that a lot more people are waking up. A lot more people are saying, no, I can't afford this. I am not feeding my kids. There are still people out there that are not feeding their kids properly, not feeding themselves, right? And still trying to pay their bills. Everything's paid. Everything's paid from our taxes. But what they want to do is not double dip, triple dip, or quadruple dip. They're dipping, 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 dipping. And this is why the country is in the state it's in. The corporation has borrowed more money than it should have done. It's not held properly, and it has been completely drained by incompetency, fraud, theft, whatever you want to do it. There was a report 2 years ago that I thought would really get people kicked off because it really opened my eyes. The SRA Solicitors Department, serious fraud, right? They stated that they couldn't keep up with the council's wrongdoings because there was so much of it. The statement literally was a statement from the SRA. Right? They could not keep up with the fraud within the councils. And what did the people do? How does that affect me? Well, it affects you because you're now paying more for everything. Right? Head Miliband's just come out and said they're charging us 78% taxation on electricity and gas supplies. Wow. What the hell? Yeah. That's 58% more than anywhere else.
Well, it's always been an asset strip.
And it's going up.
Yeah, it's been that way for a very long time, isn't it? But like you say, it's like they've boiled the proverbial frog since the last revolutions, shall we say? And here we are. So the Great Reset.
Look, we have got one choice today, and this is what I'm trying to get up. Now, I've done the paperwork for people to consent. Now, this is the first time this has been done since 1688, right? We can end the corruption today if we all got off as asses, stop going, I'm going to go to work and do 14 hours a day. Just so I can put food on my table. Just so I can do this. Just so I can survive. Where's all our luxuries gone? Where's all the food gone? Everything's been reduced massively. Everything's gone up massively. We are now, I worked out it 20 years ago, right? We were paying something like 87% of our wages, right? Out back in tax, once you added everything in. I would think that that's now gone even higher, right? So the bit that we were able to secure, save, right? We're now getting raped on.
We used to be taxed 85% of every pound, but I think it's in the 90s now. It's that, and that's exactly why.
And this is the WEF agenda. You will have nothing, and you will be happy because we will make you completely state dependent. So for me, is jack your job in, work on the side, and claim every penny. Every penny, right? And go to your employer and say, no, I don't agree with this. So you can either sack me or stop paying my taxes. It goes into this trust, and there's the lawful means of doing it. So I'm not paying tax. End of. I'm going to stop feeding the beast. You don't like it, you sack me. But you sack me for this, and I'm going to sue you.
Yeah.
And we don't fuck about. We've had enough. They're ordering a 24-hour strike, right? They're doing this, they're doing that. Fuck the 24-hour strike. Let's have a month off. It's coming up to summer. Sign on. Everybody jack in for a month.
Well, and people are scared, aren't they? And it is that. So this is what we're trying to do: empower people and get the numbers with the right documentation to be able to do it in a lawful manner.
But it is everything we do. Look, what you've got to understand is there is no more lawful, right? There is no more legal because it's not under legal. It's not under lawful. It's under bar guild presumption, private guild commerce courts. The police, no longer police. Crown agents have all gone. You're now in commerce. Everything is a fraud. Everything. Right?
Yeah.
Throughout. I've just demonstrated there how easy it is to find. Right? Once you now know that this is all nonsense, that you've been put into a commerce situation, and they have now tricked you into believing that you are a dead legal fiction corporation by either the birth certificate or the baptism certificate, or by the fact that they now class your persona, your image, as the legal fiction, under a jurisdiction that cannot exist outside the inner city of London, in a court that's a corporation, run by a corporation, overseen by the same corporation, in a fraud and deception of everything that we hold dear in this country, and the removal of your inalienable rights, which haven't actually been removed. What they've done is they've sidestepped you, the man, and you don't know how to get back onto the man, because you are just your persona. They've now attached you as the persona. You are now the vessel upon the water. Right? This is look, this has been a long time coming, and this is why I'm trying to slow down to let the people know there's no more fear. No more. If you go on my website, there'll be loads of stuff for you. We've done this, we've done council tax. We are now literally, bailiffs are terrified of us. We've done the affidavit. They can't go to, they dare not. We've removed all implied rights of asset. They come back with, oh, it's under the Tribunal and Courts Act. Da, 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 da. Yeah, so we go back with, this is what the law says. I stand under the law, not policy. There's your policies, because it says rules. Look it up. It doesn't say law. It says rules. The law is above all. No man is above the law. And that means bailiffs, police officers, judges, everybody. Lord Denning's favourite quote that I've ever heard in my life. Lord Chief Justice, no matter how high you climb, the law will always be above you. Stated it as fact in case law. Yeah. And that's it, guys. It is now, that is the importance. Lose the fear, laugh at them, get your mates round, and if the police turn up on your street to attack somebody in an act of terrorism, get off the fucking street. Stop looking behind the curtains. Come out of work. Tell your boss you've got a family emergency. Turn up in 40s, 50s, 60s, 100s, 200s till they get the message. We're not having it. You're not taking our castles. Invoke the castle doctrine. There you go. Go away. That order has not been signed. It has not been under the hand of a judge. It is done by a bulk centre, by a solicitor in fraud. There's one at Northampton and one at Peterborough.
Yeah.
Right? No warrants have any lawful or imperial crown authority. It's all Bargill nonsense.
Yes.
So it's up to you now, people.
Yeah. It's well overdue, isn't it? And
Yep.
if you want to learn more, do join Robin Hood, aka Mr. Blue, at the Realm of England. I will put the links below. Just a few things that are upcoming. We've got an upcoming event on the 13th of July down in Qstock at Weston-super-Mare. So again, if you want any information on that, just send us an email or again, come and join the site. We've got a live Zoom coming up for members with Mr. Blue, me, Toshi, and a few other special guests. So that's coming up as well. And obviously all the paperwork is at the moment being uploaded into the site and also Dark Matters. So yeah, we can keep plugging at it, but it needs everyone to come together with the right information. So please do share this episode to anybody who you think will find it of interest, but it should be of interest to every man, woman, dog, and child. And Mr. Blue, we thank you again for taking the time out to come and have a chat with us. Would you like to finish on anything?
No, like I said, it is now up to the people.
Tom
If you
February.
want to be governed by nonsense, carry on. Or you want to stand up for your rights, your family, your children, then I suggest you get off your asses, stop chewing the cud, and start looking about it. Because while ever you think that they are working for you, think again. Because all they are doing is
Yeah,
emptying your pockets by force, fear, and an act of terrorism.
yeah. There will also be a
So
book
it's up to
coming
you
out
people now.
that one of our amazing people is working on at the moment, which will be available for people as well. But if you do want to know, please come, know more, please come and support Mr. Blue in the site, and let's get this done. Again, Robin Hood, thank you for joining us, and we will catch you
Thank you very much.
next.
Oh, one big last shout out for, if I can, Carly, just one big shout out, please, for for Sir Lancelot, I believe, on TikTok. I went onto TikTok the other night, just scrolling through, looking at certain bits, and he was playing for 2 hours one of our podcasts.
What was
And
he?
they were
Oh,
putting in and everything else. And I did say the next time I did a thing, I'd give him a massive shout out because I really appreciate it. And I think, to have people like that that are trying to share the knowledge and enjoy themselves while doing it, and sort of looking for answers and looking for and getting as many people to join in, I think is
yeah,
brilliant. I think it's the way to go. We can't wake everybody up, but what we
no,
can do is assist where we can. And people have got to
yeah.
realize you're in this position because you're too busy to notice.
Yeah, and that's how they boil us as frogs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whilst people want things to go back to normal or to have normal lives, but they are coming for everything. That's what the dark does. It devours and consumes, and it's a consent-based system, and that's what we've got to remember. And like Mr. Blue has said, it's about being in the right jurisdiction. So thank you, Sir Lancelot. I don't know who you are, but thank you. And we are going to be setting up a YouTube channel for the Realm of England and a TikTok, Deep Joy. But let's face it, unfortunately, people haven't got great attention spans, so we will have to go into those realms. But it will be worthwhile to try and get this as far out as we can. And because, this is working, this works, this is the Constitution, this is the realm of England. So thank you for watching, and we will certainly catch you next time.